All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. Yesterday, Wednesday, March 17th, 2021, it was reported that Kanye West was now worth 6.6 billion. And I'm going to show you why this was reported on March 17th. Remember, just last year they said he became worth 1 billion. So they're telling you in the last year he's increased his net wealth by over times 6. And also, I'm going to show you how his story connects to the death of the Tanzanian president reported on the same day, March 17th, how his death at 61 is directly related. And even where the news of Shawn Bradley being paralyzed in a bicycle accident, which also was news on the same day, where all of these things fit in and come together. So let's start with Kanye West. Why did they say he was worth 6.6 billion? The man that refers to himself as Yeezus and Yandi and had one of his breakthrough songs, Jesus Walks. Why did they say he was worth 6.6 billion on March 17th? Again, these riddles are truly biblical, and in the Bible, in the Protestant Bible, there are 66 books. And notice, March 17th can be written 317. 317 is the 66th prime number. We'll get to in a moment how they saved the news of Shawn Bradley for this day because he was reportedly paralyzed January 20th, but nobody heard about it until March 17th. Shawn Bradley's name in Gematria equals 66. We'll come back to that. But on 317, worth 6.6 billion, key digit 66, like 66. And Kanye West is 43 years old right now. His birthday is June 8th. He'll turn 44 later this year. But in Gematria, Jesus Christ equals 43. 43 is the 14th prime. If you've ever read the New Testament, Matthew 1:1, where the story of Jesus begins, Jesus' ancestry is divided into sections of 14 generations 3 times. There's 42 generations divided into groups of 14. Jesus Christ is 43, the 14th prime. New Testament equals 42. The beginning of the New Testament starts with the 42 generations to Jesus. Also in 2012, all mainstream news reported that they'd traced the date of Jesus' crucifixion to April 3rd, 4-3, like 43. Crucifixion equals 68 in Gematria. That is Kanye's birthday, 6-8. But look at this. From his last birthday, June 8th, 2020, the day he turned 43, to the day of this news story, March 17th, that was his 283rd day of his age. That's the 61st prime number, right? The 61st prime. And remember, the Tanzanian president was reported dead at 61 on this day, which I will just show you was a date with 61 numerology. His name, John Magufuli, has the 61. But coming back to Kanye West, again, his news on the 61 date numerology as well, on his 283rd day of his age, again, the 61st prime, corresponding with the gematria of Yandi, which is Kanye West's rap alias. He sees himself as Jesus and Gandhi. So Yandi, 61, Yeezus, another name he goes by, 61, like Jesus, like cross. The news also came 83 days before his upcoming 44th birthday. And the real name of Jesus, Yeshua, has the gematria of 83. And we know in the world of entertainment, 83 can be a very dangerous number. The movie poster for Murder by Numbers, the E's changed to the 3, the B to the 8, 3883. Murder has that gematria, 38 and 83. The song Murder by Numbers by The Police came out in 83. The star of Murder by Numbers is Sandra Bullock, who's 83. That movie came out when she was 38 years old, by the way. And this ritual with his wealth 83 days before his 44th birthday. Remember, 44 is a dangerous number in entertainment as well because kills 44, so it's execution. And there's all these headlines right now about Kanye being divorced. He's going through these psychotic episodes. There's probably people in society literally getting the idea that becoming a psychotic could be good for your wealth. Just people who follow mainstream and worship it as their religion. But notice, on the 61 date numerology, on his 283rd day of his age, the 61st prime, this big headline about being worth $6.6 billion, when last year he was reported to have crossed the $1 billion threshold. So, Again, major multiplication of his value. And again, at age 43 and in such a perfect ritual on such a perfect date. Now, with regards to, coding the Jesus on hip-hop stars, it's nothing new. CNN since I got up early this morning up until the time I started this video, has been saying that this story broke 56 minutes ago when really it broke last night. But notice 56, Kanye's got the 56 like Society of Jesus. And again, that's the Jesuits who control the world of entertainment, news, who are responsible for giving us the English language and the Gregorian calendar, which are synced together. Again, it's so clear that the Jesuits are behind everything, you guys. I don't know how people are still denying it. Day after day, we just prove it further and further. But notice how Kanye's got that 56 and 79 like Society of Jesus, forwards and backwards. By the way, Yeshua also has the 79, forwards and backwards, 7983. Murder is 7983, forwards and backwards. Jesus known for essentially being murdered on the cross. But with regards to rappers and Jesus, remember Tupac's album, Machiavelli, was put out November 5th, which is the day associated with the Jesuits, the Guy Fawkes plot to blow up British Parliament. But that's the day leaving 56 days left in the year. Tupac on the Cross, this album released shortly after his reported death on September 13th. But the day leaving 56 days left in the year, and look at Tupac's name. Tupac 61 forwards, 74 in reverse. Jesus 74 forwards, 61 in reverse. Cross 74 forwards, 61 in reverse. Machiavelli, the way he spelled it, that play on Machiavelli, also 74 like rapper. And yeah, so I mean, same rituals, same numbers, same repetitive patterns. And you can really understand how scripted and contrived it all is. You think Kanye West is really worth $6.6 billion? I highly doubt it. Understand, they just create information by the numbers, stories to make people's heads spin, something to talk about around the water cooler, to keep people American dreaming, all the young people that are even working harder on their grind today because they want to be the next Kanye West. If you want to be the next Kanye West, you better sell out your mama. You better sacrifice your mama if you want to be the next Kanye West. And we had Larry Johnson of the Kansas City Chiefs do the interview with us January of 2020, and he shared the story about how he used to be, with Jay-Z, signed to Rockefeller when he was playing for the Chiefs, and he got to be around Kanye West, and he told us the story how he was pretty sure that Kanye West chose to sacrifice his mom to gain his status and fame and wealth. So, anyway, perfect ritual there. And then in Tanzania on the same day, you have the death of a black man who earlier this year on May 3rd questioned the COVID testing kits because he tested it on a goat and a pawpaw and got positive results. And he said, well, that doesn't make any sense. This is supposed to be for humans. And that made headlines on May 3rd, which is actually Machiavelli's birthday. Machiavelli, who faked his death. Remember, when Tupac's mother was reported dead, the news broke on May 3rd, on the real Machiavelli's birthday, that she'd actually died the night before on May 2nd, but all the news broke on May 3rd. We covered that years ago when it happened. But look at this. John Magufuli. Look at his name gematria. 56, like COVID vaccine, like coronavirus, like Anthony Fauci, the Jesuit who's the face of the agenda, like Washington, D.C., where the Jesuits operate out of, like Paris, France, where the Jesuits are created, like Society of Jesus, and the list goes on. There's way more to this 56 list. But again, one more COVID-related story with the 56 encoded, and in this case, another death as well. Notice his name's 56 and 187, like Society of Jesus. 187 associated with homicide. The Jesuits known for being killers all throughout history, especially with poisoning. And again, never forget that arsenic equals 33. It's the 33rd element on the periodic table. The 33-day Pope went to bed on the Jesuit birthday and never woke up again. He was out to disconnect the mob from the Vatican Bank. But again, this man dead at 61. When you run it in reverse, his name is also 61. Dead on the 61 date numerology. And Jesus and cross have that gematria 61. Here, I want to make a point real quick. When you write out Jesus in the base ciphers, It's got the 61 and the 34. This man, John Magufuli, died 139 days after his birthday, which is the 34th prime. And think about that. That's kind of like September 13th, right? Remember Tupac Shakur, who we were just talking about? He died on September 13th, 13/9 reportedly. 139 is the 34th prime. And then the album that came out shortly after that had him on the cross. Jesus has that 34, as does cross, as does church, as does murder. So dead 139 days after his birthday, the 34th prime. And don't forget, just in the most simple cipher, Freemasonry. Modern Freemasonry was created by the Jesuits, but Freemasonry's got the 139. It's the 34th prime, and the word free alone is 34. So, and keep in mind, we're talking about black men as well. Black has that gematria of 34 also. The physical description of Jesus in the Bible, as vague as it is, to me, it sheds light on the fact that Jesus was probably a man of darker skin, if Jesus even really existed. And from the day that he came out against the COVID testing, when he questioned it, when he put out the story about the goat and the pawpaw, that was May 3rd, 2020. From that day to his death was 318 days later. That's very interesting. In my first book, I write about the relationship with 318, the Son, Jesus Christ. Remember, in Greek, the word helios for sun, the Greeks coded numbers into words. They called it isopsophy. They learned it from, the Hebrews, who called it gematria, and that's why Revelation 13:18, written by the Greeks, has the little riddle about 666, the number of a man, the number of the beast. But their word helios has a value of 318, and in the New Testament, there's 318 mentions of the return of Jesus. And also in science, they say the mass of Jupiter is 318 times that of Earth, which is important because to the Greeks, Jupiter was Zeus, which is very similar to the name Jesus. Again, you got to ask yourself why they changed it from Yeshua to Jesus, which is similar to Zeus, who was the Greek god, who was Jupiter. But again, all these riddles encoded in language, encoded in the Bible, in the use of the number of, references to certain things like the return of Christ. So this man dies in a clear Jesus ritual as well. You see, this black man, president, leader in Tanzania, dies in another clear ritual connected to the Society of Jesus and the numbers of Jesus, and 318 days after coming out against the COVID test. And again, you guys, I wrote a book about how it's very clear that the Jesuits are behind the coronavirus pandemic. It's undeniable. And since I finished writing this book at the very start of August, I really finished writing it like middle of July, but then something happened at the end of August, the beginning of August, and I had to plug it in there. But anyway, since I finished writing the book, there's been 1,000 more examples to back up every word that's written in there. And again, these same patterns that we talk about year after year after year, these same numerical connections, they just continue to build examples. And again, just to go back, President queries Tanzania coronavirus kits after goat test. And this was written everywhere May 3rd on a Sunday. This is the day it happened, May 3rd, 2020. Coronavirus test kits used in Tanzania were dismissed as faulty by President John Magufuli on a Sunday, right? On a Sunday. There's this relationship with the mathematics of the sun as well that connects to 318. But anyhow, and he said the test had returned positive results from samples taken from a goat and a pawpaw. And just notice, this was on May 3rd, right? Date can be written 5-3 like 53. COVID's 53 in the most simple cipher. Notice how it overlaps with pawpaw in 3 out of the 4 ciphers, right? And goat and pandemic, goat has the 43-65 like pandemic has the 65 and 43. Again, this is the test to see if you got the virus from the pandemic. I highly doubt this stuff's coincidental. Again, the world leaders from Africa to the U.S. to Europe to Asia, the Jesuits are in all of these countries. And again, they have their puppet leaders worldwide, and they have them doing their rituals worldwide, and they off them by the numbers worldwide. So I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if they had the Tanzania president, and realize, I mean, they didn't have to cover this story. They control the mainstream. If they didn't want this story out there, it wouldn't have been out there. So again, these stories serve multiple purposes. They create confusion in the masses because people don't know what to think, what to believe. For every 100 stories supporting the pandemic and the legitimacy of everything being reported, there's one story they throw out there in the mainstream that makes you question it. And then also for the people who are questioning and are aware of this, they're thinking like, see, this is what happens when you go against the narrative. Then you end up dead. And again, that also creates a certain mindset, like maybe I shouldn't speak out. Maybe I should just be quiet so I don't end up like John Magufuli or MLK or Malcolm X or one of the Kennedys, etc., etc. So, but just realize, you guys, it is all ritual. It's all by the numbers. When you learn the code, you see what's really going on and who's pulling the strings on all this. If he faked his death or if he was murdered, the same entities are behind it. And for another example, why are we hearing about the 7'6" tall NBA player being paralyzed on March 17th when the story says it happened on January 20th? And how do you hit a man seven? Can you imagine like if a giraffe was riding a bike? That's exactly what it would look like if, Shawn Bradley was riding a bike down the street. I mean, how do you hit a man like that on a bike? But anyway, look at this. 7'6", they have to mention. The story comes on the 76th day of the year, which we'll talk about more in a moment. He was drafted by the 76ers. And look at this. From January 20th to the day that they broke the news, 56 days later. 56 days later, right? They broke it on March 17th, 317, like 317 the 66 prime, Shawn Bradley 66, just like where we began with Kanye West on this same day being reported worth $6.6 billion, right? So Shawn Bradley 66, we hear about it on 317, 56 days after the supposed incident. And notice his birthday is March 22nd, 322, just like J.J. Watt, who was just using a huge 322 ritual in Houston. We had Valentine's Day circled a month in advance for potential blackouts because of all of the forecasting of the darkest winter and the Great Reset and how it was synced up 322 days after Klaus Schwab's birthday, plus several more things. And then Houston gets it the worst, the energy capital, when the Great Reset's about moving from fossil fuels to renewable energy, just like how J.J. Watt went from Houston, oil city, to Phoenix, solar city. But J.J. Watson won out of town from Houston, Watts or energy, all ritual. But anyway, we were talking about J.J. Watt's March 22nd birthday, him in Houston 322 days after Klaus Schwab, who called for all of this. Again, all ritual. And just notice, on the 76th day of the year, the 7'6" tall man who was drafted by the 76ers, Skull and Bones is 76, right? George W. Bush, his son, the last Skull and Bones president, his birthday is July 6, 76, just like Daniel Coit Gilman, whose name equals 76, who's the Skull and Bones member that founded the Johns Hopkins University, which equals 322. But anyway, the point is they like these numbers. Skull and Bones is related to the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar connects back to the church. The Jesuits have the Templar cross in their logo. They relate back to the church. So again, the point is, all of these secret societies, they all go back to Rome. They all go back to the church. And again, 56 days after the incident, Society of Jesus 56. That's the Jesuits. January 20th can be written 20/1 like 201. The Jesuit Order 201. That was Inauguration Day too. And again, it's just news by the numbers all day, every day. Keep in mind, Shawn Bradley did play for the Nets as well, the 56th NBA season. Again, I'll remind you to look into what the NBA Finals were in the 56th NBA season. That's not 1956, the 56th NBA season, which was 19 years ago, because this is the 75th NBA season. So, Yeah. And if you do want to learn more about this, on my website, GematriaEffectNews, the top pinned post, I have all the websites linked that are selling my book. And again, if you cannot afford my book, you can go to my Patreon page, which is also linked. Just scroll back to the Christmas Eve post, and you can download the ebook for free. You can also download my first book for free, Letters and Numbers. And both those books will keep you very busy. A lot of pages to read there. Between the two books, there's over 1,000 pages. So a lot of information. A lot of hard work. But yeah, you learn the code, you see through what's really going on in this world. And if I were Kanye West, I would be careful. You know, he's that crucial age right now. Rituals like this, you know, that means there's probably some expensive life insurance policies out there on Kanye West. If he were to pass, some people would probably gain a tremendous amount of wealth. And yeah, just understand. Same Jesuits behind all of this, worldwide, from Kanye to Tanzania to Shawn Bradley. And we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. If you want to join us later this evening on Patreon, we will be covering March Madness one last time. If you want to sign up right now, you can go and watch the content we've put out the last few days. We've done a video each day just breaking down what's going on in this tournament, the incredible rituals they have planned, and seeing if we can ace the tournament again from the start. So we'll leave it there, you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and don't forget to hit the like button. I see the likes are super low. Thought this was a good video, but the likes say otherwise. Please share this also on your social media if you want to help get out the word there. And